Okay, so I get it. It's the fourth day of Chinese New Year. Uh, some of you might question why did I choose to talk about such a heavy topic, but it's exactly because it is the fourth day of Chinese New Year and the festive spirit is dying down. We start to come back to reality, and we gotta look at things from a very clear and have some reality check. It's 2020 and if you invested in the stock market in the 2019 or even the past 4-5 years has been a very smooth sailing, relatively smooth sailing time, in general for us. But moving ahead, you look at a lot of debt issues all around. There's insolvency in the banking structure in China. The US has a growing amount of debt at 28 trillion. The Fed has increased their balance sheet to 4.8 trillion, and all these, if you're not in the investing cycle, you're not in the financial world, you may not understand what's going on, right? But essentially all these factors are pointing towards a recession, are pointing towards a shrinking in the economy, right? I mean, the economy is not doing that well. It's not like shit per se yet, but it's not doing well because of a lot of trade discrepancy. Right, some of you may have already lost your job. Some of your friends that just graduated may not have found a good job, have been underemployed. Maybe not unemployed, but underemployed. And in general, you can feel that the market is not spending as much. Right, people are holding their wallets a little tighter. So when you look at all these things, you start to realize that just maybe a recession is coming our way. So how do we prepare for the next recession? That is our topic for today. So good morning everyone, I welcome you to another day with the Financial Coconut. In our podcast, we'll be debunking financial myths, discovering best financial practices, discussing financial strategies that fits our unique life. You get it, ultimately empowering us to create a life we love while managing our finances well. So today's topic is 3 ways to prepare for the next recession. Okay, so I'm not predicting the next recession because that's almost impossible. There are too many moving parts, and all the economists that ultimately stand out to tell you how the recession occurred, blah blah blah, it's all hindsight. So the shit already happened and they try to tell you what's going on. So hindsight is 2020. If at this point in time nobody can actually tell when is the recession coming, or what is going to happen in 2020 and 2021. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on whether the trade disputes get settled, because when the US and China, two the largest economy, doesn't trade, it also affects Singapore. You just look at our numbers. Our GDP is not growing as much. We have a very high government spending. And that is a strategy that our government has used over time again and again. When the economy is slowing down, they will step in to build new houses, they will build infrastructure, they'll build all these different things as a means of spurring the economy. So as we all understand, the economy essentially is a circle, right? If one person's expenses is another person's income, so people must spend, right? But it depends on how you spend, what you spend on. Ultimately, there will be a longer term impact on the general economy and your own finances. So we're not going to all the detail and the nitty gritty. It gets really complicated, but we're gonna do what we usually do, really bite-sized, 3 pointers to make it easy for us. So I'm just trying to set the stage here that I'm not predicting a recession, but given all these different matrices in the market, you hear a lot of people talking about recession, and the in general the business environment and the business climate doesn't seem as exciting. It doesn't seem as prosperous. So people are spending less, companies are spending less, so it tends to have an impact in terms of creating a recession. So given that backdrop, how then do we prepare for the next recession? And that's the thing we're going to talk about today. I think the first thing that we all can do to prepare for a recession is to progressively scale back our spending. Okay, what does that mean? So you cannot be sure what will exactly happen, in the next recession. But one thing that is usually quite constant is people will lose jobs, income will get affected, and in that case, you gotta prepare for that. What if your income, gets scaled back? What if you lose your job? What if something happened here and there? So we're not even talking about your investments. We're not even talking about your savings. We're just talking about the bare bones and the very fundamental of personal finance, which is your income getting affected. There is a possibility, and a very real possibility, that in the event of a recession, your income gets affected. Right, so if you just look at whatever that has happened prior, people lose jobs, they are asked to go on no pay leave, they are asked to cut back on their salary and their income for a temporary period. So all sorts of ways and all sorts of strategies that, businesses and the government and the labor force come together to try to, tide through this process. So given that your income is definitely going to get affected, you want to definitely look at your expenses as of now. So even if you're making 5,000, 6,000, or maybe you're just a fresh grad making 3,000, 4,000 today, your lifestyle would usually be very packed to your income. Usually that's the case. I'm not saying everyone's the same, but when I was younger, it's the same thing. You make how much, you spend how much. I think a lot of people go through this phase because we've not made a lot of money before. So now that we suddenly have all this cash, we want to do all these different things that we want to do. We want to travel here, we want to buy that bag, we want to join this thing, we want to do that event, all sorts of stuff that we want to do. So fair, very cool, but as we age, we will start to plan a little further. After we are done playing around, we'll plan a little further. But given that many a times our expenses and our income are kind of moving in parallel. If our income is at 5K now, maybe we spend about 3,000, maybe we spend about 2,000, 4,000. Some people match it, whatever happens. The underlying notion is that because your income is going to get scaled back, it will affect your expenses. And it will definitely affect your lifestyle. So at this point in time, when the sun is sunny, your roof, it's beautiful. Why not do some fixing? Why not sort some certain things out, right? You don't want to wait for a rainy day to fix a hole in the roof. So at this point in time, when the economy is still okay, your income is still intact, why not do some things to scale back on your expenses? And how do we do that? I'm sure there are quite a few episodes that I talk about how do you have fun on a budget in Singapore, how do you reduce your expenses, all those different things you can roll back and take a look. But in this podcast, I want to, just emphasize on this idea that because we are doing fine now, it's one of the best time for us to, scale back on some of our expenses, right? Because when shit happens, right, when the recession comes and suddenly you lose your income, suddenly your lifestyle has to change. You'll go through this whole emotional, process. It's very daunting on you, and you're gonna question a lot of things. You're gonna go through a very, very tough time if you actually lose your job. You get your income affected. You cannot find another job. You got all this debt on you and all these different things that you have. It's gonna be pretty detrimental. So why not at this point in time when things are still okay, you're not sure whether recession is going to come, it's just that it feels like it's going to come, and at this point in time you still have a job, everything is still looking fine, why not take this time to fix the roof, scale back on some of your expenses, like maybe make use more, or make use of the public facility a little more, right? Make use of hanging out with your friends at their place rather than going to the bar. A lot of times we just want social connection, we just want a place to hang out, and because nobody is really willing to open up their house, we end up going to a bar and we spend like $30-$50, and then we take a midnight cab or a midnight grab, whatever that we do, we spend a lot more unnecessary money. In actuality, we don't need the alcohol, we just want a place to hang out and connect and crave for some social connection. So all these things, I've talked about it in previous episodes. Just go and roll up and take a look at some of those things, Ultimately, I recommend you to progressively scale back your spending, to prepare yourself for the next recession. And the second point I'm going to share with you is a little bit more on the investment side. So I'm sure you've heard this. I said a little bit about this. I'm going to spend some time to emphasize a little more, why I recommend you to buy some gold. So this is the second point to how to prepare for the next recession. So the reality of gold investing is that there are no underlying elements of growth. Don't lie to yourself, okay? Don't lie to yourself that buy gold and then there will be some growth element. Gold, many a times gold is not actively used. It's mostly used as a medium of storage, is a store of value, and it is an ancient assurance value that have rolled over till today. So don't be too excited about it. It only has assurance value. But assurance value become extremely important when there is a whole time of choppiness. When many things are moving around, it's like a roller coaster and nothing is sure. People will flock to gold just so that they can be assured. Until the day central banks decide that they will not take gold as a reserve, that is the day when gold no longer has its assurance value. But till that day, gold will still has its assurance value, right? So, in my view, I'm predicting that during the next financial crisis, currencies will go crazy, right? Because of the low interest rate environment, because of the heavy debt that all these different central banks and governments and corporates they have, I believe that in the next recession, you will start to see currencies devalue. Of course, you will see assets devalue. That's very normal, but you will see currencies devalue, and that is what I believe so. So when currencies devalue, gold is your best hedge, right? You go to gold, you will be able to mitigate all these kind of currency movement. At least that is the market logic. So, like it or not, you're not buying gold to expect to make like one time or like two times or even 50%, but gold can give you that kind of currency hedge, can give you that kind of assurance value. So like I said before, equities is what really drive your portfolio because businesses drives that kind of growth. So majority of your portfolio should still be in equities. Okay, maybe you hold quite a big sum in cash also, which is fine. But if you have a lot of cash, then you can consider buying some gold. Maybe 10 to 15% of your investment portfolio can be in gold as a way to hedge any uncertainties that will come in the next recession, right? So don't be confused. And once again, I'm not like giving you some advice, it's just something that I do and I'm just talking about it, right? Because I cannot give advice. I give you advice, I will kena lawsuit. And brings me to my third point of how to prepare for the next recession. This is something that is very real and you should do it now, which is to prepare your resume. In the next recession, you may lose your job, you may not lose your job. Things may happen, all sorts of things may happen. You don't know what's going to happen. But one thing it's very certain that's going to happen is that you're going to go through quite an emotional ride. You're going to go through quite an emotional journey. And when shit happens, when you become emotional, you tend to not be able to do a lot of things, right? So imagine writing a resume when you just lost your job and when you have like credit card bills banging at your door and you have all this debt laden to do all these different things. So at this point in time, when the sun is up, everything is shiny, why not let us fix the roof, write our resume, go and fix up our resume. And honestly, by then you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know you don't know if you're gonna get it. You don't know you're gonna get affected or not by the next recession. But before that, since we have some time now and things looks okay, why not let's just prepare our resume, beef it up on a good note, and if and when you need this resume, you have one that is updated, beautiful, and you wrote it on a good note, right? So everything about recession, is uncertain. There are all sorts of things that will happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but personally, when I look at it on our personal level, the biggest risk that we run, it's really just our income getting affected. Right, and so at this point in time, we want to like deleverage on our investments. We want to cut back on our spending. We want to cut back on our debt. All these different things that we can do. But ultimately, when I look at the grand scheme of things, I'm recommending you 3 things that you should do and you can do as of now to prepare for the next recession. And the first thing is to progressively scale back on your spending. You don't need to spend a lot to have fun. There are a lot of ways to enjoy life without spending a lot. And the next thing is to buy some gold, have some gold within your portfolio to hedge in any case if something happens. And the third thing is to prepare your resume just in case you actually get slaughtered as a result of the financial crisis and you need to find a job. You'll be in much better state when you already have a resume prepared. So I hope these 3 things help you in the next recession, and I hope you learned something useful today. See ya. Hey, I hope you learned something useful today and truly appreciate that you took time off to better your life with the financial coconut. Knowledge is that much more powerful and interesting when shared, debated, and discussed. I hope you will share what you've gained with people you love, and I want to hear from you. Give me some questions and help me along with building a community of financially savvy coconuts. I hope together we can fulfill our curious minds and our desire for clarity. Email me at thefinancialcoconut@gmail.com or message me on Facebook or join our community Telegram group. I will do my best to address your questions in future podcast series, especially if many people are concerned about the same topic. With that, have a great day ahead, stay tuned next week, and always remember, personal finance can be chill, clear, and sustainable for all.